Donald Livingston again. I am still at the console, and this time we're going to talk about couplers and how the manuals interact with one another, and how memory figures into the registration of an organ. So far we've talked about the stop knobs. We know that the names tell us what kind of sound they're going to make, and we know that the Arabic numeral tells us what the foot length is, and the Roman numeral tells us if there's multiple ranks, how many. I should tell you what a rank is. So a rank is actually a collection of pipes that all make the same sound, so that when you play across the keyboard, it'll be the same sound. That's one rank. So so we know that much about the stop knobs. There are a couple of others I haven't addressed before, and I'd like to now because they're curious. I mentioned special trick knobs, and there are some features on the organ that are not ranks of pipes at all, and one of them is called a harp, and this is what it sounds like. There's another one similar to it. It's called, well, there's the chimes, there's the big chimes. And then there's a thing called the celesta, which sounds a bit like the harp. It's got a little more attack to it. But they are actually laid out as one might see a celeste or a xylophone, laid out and played with hammers and driven by this. And then there's one more. It's called a Zimbelstern in German, which means bell star. And because it literally is a star-shaped thing that has bells that clank when you turn it on. A little motor turns a wheel, and it dings bells as it goes by, and it sounds like this. You don't play it, you just turn it on, and when you want it to not do, then you turn it off. And it just adds a little bit of a like sparkly sound. So you're doing, let's say you're doing if you just want a little special effect, there it is. So those are the things that are not properly stops, or rather ranks of pipes on the organ. Now, the organ console is laid out. Remember, we talked earlier about divisions, and that they physically have places, and that they belong to different manuals belong to different physical places in the room. The stop knobs are arranged by division as well, so that I always know when I'm pulling stops from here, they'll play here. Likewise here, 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 we'll play here. From this side, here, from the pedal, here, and then the tricks will be on the top manual. Now, I can pull stops and make sounds, like here's a nice principal chorus. Let's give some pedal. Here's a nice principal chorus on the grate. Let's say I can make some other sounds. Let's have a little, I've got a smaller scale version going on in the choir, or let's say I want one from this division, and likewise I want one in the fourth division. That's great if I want to play those discrete parts of the organ all by themselves, but I also have the capacity to move them around. So I can move what's on this manual to this manual via what's called a coupler. And that's what we see here in the middle. It will tell you what manual you're coming from, and the manual you're moving it to, and at what pitch level. So for example, we'll move this sound to the grate via the coupler. We can also move that down an octave lower, or we can move it an octave higher, or we can do all three. We can do that with every division. We can, with almost no exception, we can move any division to another manual. We can move them down, or we can move them up to the center. All roads lead to the Rome that is the middle manual. So that we can add, we can take, say, something, a lot of reed power here. On the swell, there's a full swell for you. And we take a full grate and couple them together. We can couple any of these things to the pedal as well. And I can take anything from here and couple them up. And now we have, we're playing all divisions simultaneously. And that's what couplers do for us. Then there's another series of, another function, and that is pistons. And these pistons are ways that we remember or be able to save collections of stops as we pull them in a particular form so that we can reuse them. So for example, let's say I pull this on. That's great. I don't want to have to reach over there every single time I want to make this sound. So I, quote unquote, remember it as a piston. And these pistons are either pistons that control the entire instrument, and they're called generals, and they live here and on the floor. And then there's one for each manual, has its own collection. There's 5 here, there's 8 here, 6 for here. And then each division has its own, the pedal has its own. And then there's, the generals go to 14 on the floor, they go to 18 on the hands, and this is how they work. So let's start with something small. I can add, I've already saved these. So here's piston 1, 2, 3. Let's do this, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, and 14. So I can add stops while I'm playing, and this allows me to remember them in whatever way that I want to, so that I can continue to change stops without having to use my hands. Here we go.